The trade hub of Celestes Station 47 was chaos incarnate. Hovering cargo pods zipped between docking bays like swarming fireflies, while merchant drones jostled with sentient beings of every shape and color. Humans, of course, were the minority, curious, clumsy, but undeniably persistent in a universe that didn't exactly welcome them with open arms. Aaron Hale maneuvered his courier cart through the crowd, hands gripping the control panel with practiced ease. The package strapped to the cart was unusually heavy and strangely delicate, humming faintly with a soft blue glow. He delivered explosives, medical supplies, and even rare alien delicacies, but this was different. Destination. Zalarian Imperial Palace, he muttered under his breath, reading the holographic tag floating above the package. The Zalarian Empire, legendary for their technological sophistication, their elegance, and their reputation for being utterly intolerant of mistakes. Humans didn't usually handle deliveries here, at least not in one piece. Custom scanners whined as Aaron approached the checkpoint. A cone of blue light scanned his cart and his person. Human courier. Reason for high-priority palace delivery? A cold, metallic voice asked. The speaker was a Xylarian customs officer, tall, multi-limbed, with eyes that rotated independently. Yes. Just routine, Aaron said, trying to sound confident. Package for Princess Liara, very important. The officer's head tilted at an impossible angle, studying him. Then, with a slow, deliberate gesture, the scanner cleared him. Proceed, palace security will inspect further. Aaron exhaled. Not dead yet, that's a win. As he rolled through the corridors of the station, he passed minor aristocrats, Xylarians in ceremonial robes gliding past him with their long, elegant limbs. They regarded Aaron with that peculiar mix of curiosity and disdain reserved for humans. One particularly gaudy noble stopped mid-stride, sniffing the air around him. A human here, he hissed to his companion, whose eyes rolled like twin orbs of judgment. Do you suppose it even knows the difference between a ceremonial crystal and a carbon scrubber? Aaron couldn't help the small smirk tugging at his lips. It's okay, buddy. I've handled worse. I once delivered a rare antimatter vial to a mining colony full of xenophobic robots without getting vaporized. The noble's whispers followed him like shadows as he approached the palace gates. Massive energy barriers shimmered across the entrance, guarded by towering Xylarian sentinels whose very presence could intimidate a small starship crew into submission. Aaron presented his delivery authorization, and the sensors scanned him in a series of blinding pulses. The guards' eyes glinted as they inspected him. One leaned down, head nearly brushing Aaron's shoulder. Human, palace courier? Yes, Aaron said, forcing a calm he didn't entirely feel. They grunted. A gesture later, the energy barriers retracted. He was cleared. For a moment, Aaron simply stared at the open gates. The palace beyond was more magnificent than anything he'd ever imagined. Towers that seemed to float, walls that shimmered with shifting colors, and gardens suspended in midair, where alien flora glowed with bioluminescent elegance. And then he saw her, the princess, Liara. She was radiant beyond words, standing at the far end of the grand hall in ceremonial attire that seemed to capture the very light of the palace. Her skin shimmered with a soft metallic sheen, her elongated eyes reflecting patterns of distant stars. Even from across the hall, her gaze settled on him, and Aaron felt an unfamiliar pang of something. Curiosity? Recognition? He couldn't tell. It was as if she could see right through the human trappings and straight into the core of him. Aaron shook his head subtly, reminding himself he was here to deliver a package, not get lost staring at a princess. He wheeled the cart forward, trying to ignore the lingering hum of the package. It pulsed slightly, almost as if it had its own heartbeat. The palace staff watched him with polite suspicion. A trio of attendants floated near the ceiling, their translucent wings casting fractured light onto the marble floor. "Human courier," one said in a voice like chimes, "your delivery will be received at the ceremonial chamber. Please proceed immediately." "Right," Aaron said, nodding, his voice sounding smaller than he felt. Ceremonial chamber. Just a room, deliver. Done. Yet every step toward the chamber seemed heavier, as if the palace itself weighed the worth of his presence. For all his years navigating hostile stations, pirate outposts, and alien marketplaces, this felt different. The air itself shimmered with expectation. He finally arrived at the chamber door. Two sentinels stepped aside, scanning him with an intensity that made him grit his teeth. As he rolled in, the hall opened up to a spectacle. Thousands of alien guests, hovering banners of energy and intricate carvings depicting the history of the Zalarian Empire. And the princess. She was closer now, moving gracefully toward the center of the room. Her gaze locked with his again, and for a split second the hubbub of the crowd, the grandeur of the palace, even the weight of the package, all of it faded into background noise. Aaron felt a flush rise to his cheeks, which, given the cooling systems of the palace, was ridiculous. But he couldn't stop it. Something about her presence, her calm authority, her very being, made him feel like a mortal human suddenly standing at the threshold of legend. He wheeled the cart forward, arms tense. The package hummed more urgently, as if it sensed the importance of this moment. The princess paused just a few meters away now and tilted her head slightly. Her expression was curious, almost playful, yet unmistakably regal. Something about her gaze feels different. And in that fleeting instant, Aaron realized that this delivery, which seemed like just another job, might be the first step into a world where humans were rarely expected, and even less frequently honored. He cleared his throat. "Your Highness, delivery for the wedding," he said, trying to keep his voice steady. The princess's lips curved in the smallest, faintest smile. It wasn't mocking, it wasn't condescending, it was acknowledging. And in that acknowledgement, Aaron felt something stir deep inside him, a spark of adventure, and the faint thrill of a destiny he hadn't known he was about to claim. The hum from the package seemed to intensify, as if echoing the heartbeat in Aaron's chest. Whatever this wedding delivery entailed, it was already clear that it would not be ordinary. Not for him, not for anyone. And with that, the grand palace seemed to hold its breath, waiting for what a single human courier might do next. HFY elements, human ingenuity, bravery, curiosity standing out in alien society. Humor, minor aristocrats underestimating Aaron. Hook, princess's gaze, foreshadows further adventure and romantic ceremonial involvement. The ceremonial chamber shimmered with alien elegance, a vast expanse of floating platforms, holographic decorations, and hovering lanterns that glowed like captured starlight. Guests from dozens of star systems drifted along the aisles, their attire ranging from crystalline robes to iridescent exoskeletons. And in the middle of it all, Aaron Hale, a human courier in a slightly battered uniform, felt painfully, hilariously out of place. "Just deliver the package, Hale," he muttered under his breath, gripping the handle of his cart. "No mistakes, no heroics, just deliver it." But the universe, as always, had other plans. He'd barely taken 2 steps into the chamber when the first ripple of chaos erupted. A small, furry alien, part of the ceremonial entourage, darted across the aisle, apparently terrified of a hovering drone that was dropping delicate flower orbs. The drone whirred erratically, sparks flying as it collided with a balcony railing. One of the orbs plummeted toward the crowd. Instinct took over. Aaron lunged, pushing a guest aside just in time and catching the orb midair. The hall gasped. He set it carefully back on the hovering tray. "That human," one elder whispered, tone equal parts shock and disbelief. "He saved the ceremonial orb." Aaron flushed, saved the orb, big hero, small, life-altering. He glanced at the princess, whose elongated eyes were fixed on him with something unreadable. Curiosity, amusement, perhaps a hint of approval. His pulse skipped a beat. The chaos didn't stop there. A second drone began spinning out of control, scattering other ceremonial items. Aaron, moving faster than he thought possible, redirected it using his cart like a makeshift battering ram, deflecting it from guests and keeping his balance on the marble floors. A nearby guard muttered, clearly impressed. "Odd, the human anticipates movement with uncanny precision." By now, Aaron had caught the attention of almost the entire chamber. He wasn't a mere courier anymore. He was the human who could handle chaos where the palace guards faltered. And the princess? She was moving closer, flowing through the crowd as if drawn toward him. "Your Highness," Aaron said, voice slightly hoarse from adrenaline, "package delivered safely." She tilted her head, her expression curious and almost mischievous. Her voice was melodious, carrying a weight of authority even in casual conversation. "You are surprisingly competent, human. Tell me, do all humans handle chaos this well, or is it a unique skill?" Aaron blinked. "She's talking to me, seriously." Mostly unique," he said, realizing it sounded more like a boast than he intended. The princess's lips curved ever so slightly. That smile, just faint enough to make him question reality, was the sort that could unnerve seasoned ambassadors. "Interesting. Perhaps you should stay close to me during the ceremony." Aaron froze. Stay close. Did she just request that? Or order it? Before he could respond, a shadow passed through the chamber, a minor aristocrat attempting to stir disruption, slipping a small device near the ceremonial energy field. The device sparked, sending waves of light flickering dangerously close to the guests. Aaron reacted without thinking. He shoved the cart forward, scooping up the rogue device midair and tossing it toward a secure containment zone with one practiced motion. The hall erupted in murmurs and whispers. By the stars, the human intervenes again. Did he just? He's impressive. Even some of the more skeptical Zalarians were now watching him with thinly veiled awe. The princess stepped closer, her presence commanding yet gentle. "Human," she said, her elongated eyes locking onto his, "will you be my cavalier for this ceremony?" Aaron blinked. "Wait, what? Cavalier, like escort, protector. Participant, I think I can." "You will," she said, voice soft but firm, leaving no room for argument. "Step by step I'll guide you, but for now, observe, learn, and remain attentive. The ceremony does not tolerate mistakes." Aaron swallowed hard, the weight of the title settling on his shoulders. He was just a courier, after all, and now he was being asked to take part in an event of unimaginable importance, standing alongside one of the most powerful figures in the galaxy. He nodded, trying to look composed despite the racing of his heart. "Understood, Your Highness." The princess inclined her head ever so slightly. "Good, let us proceed then." As they moved together through the grand chamber, Aaron caught glimpses of the ceremonial proceedings. Floating crystal rings, streams of light weaving through the hall, and alien musicians producing sounds that seemed to resonate directly with the soul. He marveled at the complexity, the precision, and the beauty of it all, and wondered how he, a mere human courier, had ended up in the center of it. Then the unexpected happened. Another minor hiccup. A guest misstepped onto a moving platform. Aaron reacted instinctively, catching the individual before they fell, stabilizing the platform, and preventing what could have been a disastrous scene. Once again the crowd gasped, whispers spreading like wildfire. "The human courier is extraordinary." The princess glanced at him, eyes sparkling. "It seems, human, that chaos follows you, and yet you command it. Perhaps you are not as ordinary as the rest believe." Aaron felt a flush rise to his face. "Ordinary, not ordinary, I just deliver packages, okay?" He swallowed, keeping his composure, for now. As the ceremony reached its climax, Aaron realized something important. Humans weren't usually expected to excel in alien courts. They were underestimated, overlooked, often dismissed. But here he was, navigating chaos, saving guests, protecting ceremonial artifacts, and drawing the attention of one of the most important beings in the galaxy. And the princess, Liara, was watching, perhaps for more than just admiration. The hum of the package, still strapped to his cart, seemed to resonate with the energy of the chamber, pulsing in rhythm with Aaron's heartbeat. He had delivered it. He had survived the initial chaos. And now a new role, one he hadn't anticipated, was beginning to take shape. The hall's light shimmered over him, and for the first time Aaron Hale felt not like a small human in a vast universe, but like someone who might, leave a mark on it. And somewhere, deep in the patterns of her gaze, Princess Liara seemed to sense it too. The palace gardens were unlike anything Aaron had ever seen. Floating terraces stretched into the sky, linked by transparent walkways that hummed with energy. Alien flora, some glowing softly, some gently waving in unseen currents, filled the space. The air was perfumed with scents he couldn't name, each inhalation making his human senses reel. And in the midst of it all walked Princess Liara, radiant and poised, her every step commanding attention without effort. Aaron followed, careful not to trip on the transparent flooring. His hands clenched and unclenched nervously at his sides. He was a human, a courier, and now somehow he was expected to escort one of the most powerful beings in the galaxy through the palace's ceremonial rites. "You've done well so far, Aaron Hale," Liara said, her voice melodic, resonating with authority and warmth. "The guests have taken note of your peculiar efficiency. Most humans would have panicked by now." Aaron swallowed, trying to maintain composure. "I just react to what's happening, Your Highness. Instinct, I guess." She tilted her head, eyes shimmering like starlight. "Instinct, yes, that is often the key, but instinct alone will not suffice during the ceremony." He nodded slowly, unsure whether that was encouragement or a warning. Liara stopped near a hovering fountain of liquid crystal, which reflected the ambient light in dancing patterns across their faces. "You must understand," she continued, "being a cavalier is more than escorting me. You are a protector, a guide, and an emblem of my household. Your presence reflects on me and on the Empire." Aaron blinked. Reflects on you right. I'm just a human, lowly courier. You really want me in this role. Her gaze softened slightly, almost amused. Yes, you possess qualities many of my own nobles lack: courage, quick thinking, and an absence of arrogance. That is rare. That is why I ask it of you. Will you be my cavalier? Aaron froze. Her cavalier-like official, not metaphorical, not joking. I suppose I can try, he stammered, the words feeling both ridiculous and terrifying. Liara's lips curved into a faint smile. Try, no, you will, but fear not. I will guide you. The ceremonial trials are designed to test not only your abilities, but your character. It is customary for all cavaliers to participate. You will succeed if you remain attentive and trust your instincts. Aaron's stomach twisted. He'd handled pirates, gravity anomalies, and malfunctioning drones, but ceremonial trials with an alien princess. This was a whole new level of absurdity. Yet something in her tone, calm, unwavering, confident, made him believe he could somehow manage it. All right, Your Highness, he said, straightening his shoulders. I'm honored. I'll do my best. Her eyes flickered briefly with amusement. Good. Then let us begin. They moved deeper into the palace gardens toward a series of elevated platforms. On each, a different trial awaited. Some were tests of agility, requiring precise movements across shifting walkways. Others tested diplomacy and etiquette, delicate negotiations with robotic attendants programmed to respond only to flawless protocol. And a few were outright physical challenges, where Aaron's human reflexes and balance would be pushed to the limit. As they approached the first trial, a minor noble smirked from the sidelines, whispering to a companion. The human cannot possibly endure. He will fail. Aaron heard the words and couldn't help a smirk of his own. Watch me, buddy. Watch me. The first test required walking across a floating bridge of light, each step activating panels that shifted unpredictably. Aaron took a deep breath. Instinct took over. He leapt, twisted, and landed with surprising grace, each movement calculated yet fluid. He could feel Liara's eyes on him, and that gaze, so focused, so intense, made him sharper, more aware. He crossed the bridge without a single misstep. Impressive, Liara said, her voice soft but approving. Many would falter, you did not. Next was a challenge of diplomacy. An attendant approached, holding a delicate artifact that could not be touched directly. Aaron was expected to communicate a specific sequence of gestures, verbal tones, and eye contact, alien etiquette that would take years to master. He mimicked what he had observed, relying on intuition. Miraculously, the attendant responded positively, bowing slightly. You are learning quickly, Liara noted. Instinct is valuable, but observation and adaptation are essential. Take note. The final trial for the day was deceptively simple. Escort the princess safely across a garden terrace while dodging shifting holographic obstacles that mimicked combat scenarios. Aaron's heart pounded. One false step and he could fall, or worse, embarrass himself in front of the entire court. Yet again, instinct and human ingenuity prevailed. He anticipated the patterns, adjusted his movements, and shielded Liara when a holographic strike came too close. She moved seamlessly beside him, almost as if they were in sync. At the end of the trials, Liara placed a ceremonial token on his chest, a glowing crystal that marked him officially as her cavalier. It pulsed softly, resonating with the palace's energy. You have done well, Aaron Hale, she said. By the Empire's tradition, you are now bound as my protector during this ceremony. Remember, it is not only your skill but your character that will be observed by the court. Fail in character, and it will be far worse than failing a trial. Aaron's chest swelled with a mix of pride, fear, and awe. He had survived challenges that could have crushed him, and he had earned recognition in a place where humans were rarely noticed. Liara's gaze softened again. Come, there is more to learn, more to observe, but for now, rest. You have earned it, Cavalier. Aaron allowed himself a small, exhausted smile. For the first time since arriving at the palace, he felt seen, not just as a human courier, but as someone capable of standing among the galaxy's elite. And in the corner of his mind, he couldn't help but wonder what other challenges awaited him as the princess's cavalier. The adventure was only beginning. HFY elements. Human courage, quick thinking, adaptability in alien systems. Humor, Aaron's inner thoughts, subtle human versus alien contrast. Hook, Aaron is officially a cavalier, foreshadowing political intrigue and deeper challenges. The palace was alive. Every corner of the floating gardens, every terrace, every chamber seemed to pulse with energy, resonating with history, ceremony, and expectation. Aaron Hale, human courier turned cavalier, felt both exhilarated and slightly terrified. Each trial the princess set before him seemed designed not only to test skill, but to reveal character, a characteristic the palace deemed far more important than mere competence. Their first stop was the Hall of Mirrors, a chamber of polished crystalline walls where reflections shifted and warped, creating illusions of endless corridors. A cavalier's task: navigate the hall without breaking concentration, while simultaneously guiding the princess safely to the exit. Aaron stepped forward, every nerve alert. The mirrors multiplied their movements, creating phantom obstacles. One misstep, one wrong glance, and the trial would fail. "Stay close," Liara murmured, her hand brushing lightly against his arm. "Focus not on what you see, but on what is real." Instinct took over. Aaron relied on peripheral cues, the subtle distortions in the reflections, the faint vibrations underfoot. When a shifting panel rose unexpectedly, he adjusted, scooped the princess lightly to prevent a stumble, and spun gracefully around a false reflection. By the time they reached the exit, Liara's eyes gleamed with approval. "Remarkable. Few can navigate this without error. You adapt quickly, human." Before Aaron could respond, a murmur ran through the observing nobles. Several were clearly irritated. "A human excelling in trials meant for our elite," one hissed. "This is unacceptable." Aaron felt the tension but didn't flinch. He had learned long ago that humans thrived where others relied too heavily on rules or expectation. Observation, instinct, improvisation, that's how we survive. Next came the aerodome terrace, a trial of agility. Platforms floated in midair, shifting with unpredictable currents. The challenge: escort the princess while dodging energy pulses and maintaining perfect balance. Many of the nobles faltered immediately, their elegant training failing under the dome's chaotic conditions. Aaron, however, trusted his human reflexes. He leapt from one platform to another, adjusted for momentum, and shielded Liara when an unexpected surge of wind threatened to unbalance her. Her hand brushed his arm again, not in criticism, but in quiet gratitude. "You have courage," she said softly, "and the calm to act when others panic. That is rare among my people." Even as he felt a surge of pride, Aaron sensed the undercurrent of jealousy. A group of nobles whispered, casting him suspicious glances. One particularly smug aristocrat approached later, bowing with forced politeness. "Human, impressive for a species so unpredictable." Aaron smiled faintly. "Thanks. We humans are good at surviving chaos. Guess it comes in handy sometimes." The aristocrat's smile faltered and he walked away muttering, "Humans, always lucky, always resilient, perhaps too resilient." The final trial of the day took them to the Hall of Echoes, a chamber designed to test diplomacy and composure. Holographic projections of alien dignitaries presented impossible social puzzles, intricate etiquette, and rapid-fire communication challenges. One mistake, one missed cue, and the human cavalier would fail. Aaron's strategy was simple: observe, adapt, and trust instinct. He mimicked subtle gestures, adjusted tones, and anticipated reactions. His responses were unconventional but effective, leaving the holographic dignitaries nodding in approval. Liara's gaze followed every move, her expression a mixture of surprise and admiration. "You improvise beautifully," she said quietly. "Most of my court would falter if the rules changed even slightly. You do not." By the end of the trials, Aaron was physically exhausted and mentally drained, yet exhilaration coursed through him. The nobles' whispers shifted from derision to reluctant respect. He had not only survived, but excelled. Liara placed her hand gently on his shoulder, the ceremonial crystal token pulsing softly between them. "Aaron Hale, you have proven yourself more capable than many of my own people. You are more than a cavalier. You are a symbol of adaptability, courage, and ingenuity." Aaron tried to downplay it, scratching the back of his neck. I just do what I can, Your Highness. Survive, adapt, help when necessary. That's humans." She smiled faintly, an unreadable expression crossing her features. "Perhaps it is time my court learns that humans are not to be underestimated." And in that moment, Aaron realized something vital. Being human was no disadvantage in this world. In fact, it might just be his greatest strength. Humans were unpredictable, resourceful, and resilient, qualities the palace itself now acknowledged through him. As they walked back toward the ceremonial chambers, Aaron felt the weight of the token against his chest. It was more than just a symbol, it was recognition. He wasn't just a courier anymore. He was a cavalier, a protector, a human who had earned respect in a world that seldom gave it. Yet, even as he basked in quiet triumph, he sensed that the palace and the empire held deeper challenges. Rival nobles, political intrigue, and hidden dangers lingered just beyond the ceremonial facade. His trials were far from over. But for now, Aaron allowed himself a moment of pride. Humans may have been underestimated, dismissed, and overlooked across the galaxy. But here, in the heart of the Xylarian Empire, his resilience and ingenuity had spoken louder than prejudice or expectation. And somewhere near him, Princess Liara's gaze lingered, subtle but unmistakable, a silent acknowledgement of the human who had not only survived but thrived. The adventure was far from over, and Aaron felt ready. HFY elements. Human ingenuity, courage, adaptability, thriving in a world designed to underestimate them. Drama and humor, rival nobles' reactions, Aaron's internal commentary. The palace corridors at night were eerily quiet. The soft hum of the floating gardens faded behind them as Aaron Hale escorted Princess Liara back from the final ceremonial trials. Even in the moonlight filtered through translucent walls, the beauty of the Xylarian Empire was undeniable. Glowing plants, suspended crystal walkways, and the distant shimmer of antigrav fountains. Yet something felt wrong. Aaron's instincts, honed over years of dodging pirates and navigating hostile alien ports, prickled. The guards, normally vigilant, seemed oddly distracted, patrolling slower, whispering to each other. Even the palace sensors, which usually pulsed with constant energy, flickered momentarily in an unusual pattern. "Your Highness," Aaron said softly, "I get the feeling we're not alone." Liara glanced at him, her eyes narrowing. "You are unusually perceptive, human. Perhaps this is why I asked you to be my cavalier." They turned a corner, stepping into a narrow hallway lined with ceremonial banners. Shadows flickered in the faint light. Then, without warning, a figure lunged from the shadows, a silent, masked intruder wielding a plasma blade aimed directly at the princess. "Move!" Aaron shouted. Without thinking, he shoved Liara aside and raised his courier cart as a makeshift shield. The blade collided with it, sparking violently but deflecting just enough to prevent injury. The princess's eyes widened, not in fear but in surprised admiration. Aaron's mind raced. He had no formal combat training beyond self-defense, and palace guards were several meters away. Improvisation was his only option. He kicked the cart forward, sending it sliding across the polished floor, tripping the intruder. Then, using the momentum, he grabbed a nearby ceremonial staff, swinging it with brute human determination. The intruder stumbled, and Aaron seized the opportunity to disarm them, sending the plasma blade clattering across the floor. Liara, now steady, stepped forward. Her hand brushed against his arm, a gesture that was both reassuring and intimate. "You are remarkable, human, calm, decisive, fearless." Aaron exhaled, adrenaline coursing through him. "Well, I've had worse days. This one just happens to involve a princess." Behind them, the palace security finally arrived, restraining the would-be assassin. Whispers spread quickly through the corridors. The human cavalier prevented harm to the princess. Even the skeptical nobles had to acknowledge it. Liara's gaze lingered on him, her expression unreadable yet warm. "Your actions have changed perceptions tonight, Aaron Hale. Humans are not as vulnerable as many believe." Aaron rubbed the back of his neck, trying to downplay the praise. "I just reacted, didn't want anyone to get hurt." "You did more than react," she said softly. "You protected the Empire's future. You protected me." For the first time, Aaron realized the full weight of his role. Being a cavalier was no longer ceremonial or symbolic, it was literal. He was responsible for the safety of one of the most important figures in the galaxy. The stakes were higher than he'd ever imagined. As they continued down the corridor, Liara glanced at him with a mixture of curiosity and admiration. "Tell me, human, do you often find yourself in situations where instinct outweighs training?" Aaron chuckled lightly, tension easing slightly. "Pretty much every day. I guess humans are used to improvising when things go sideways." She nodded thoughtfully. "That may explain why you survived what most of my court could not. There is a value in unpredictability." Unpredictability. Aaron liked the sound of that. It was a human strength, and one he intended to use. Yet even as the palace settled back into relative calm, Aaron Hook establishes political intrigue and feuder. Hook establishes political intrigue and feuder.